Welcome to another edition of Overtime with the Gonzalez twins, Dylan and Dakota. Thank you guys for sitting down with me and talking. I know lots happening here. You know,
it's a good time.
It's a better place to be with me. So we're going to dive right in. We talked about your music. We talked about your future in acting. We talked about the modeling. Let's talk basketball. So you guys played at UNLV. Can you guys talk about how you got recruited there, ended up there, and kind of just everything basketball and where you're at?
Yeah, for sure. We started getting recruited when we were pretty young. I want to say we were in like 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when the coaches actually offered us a scholarship.
Oh,
and
dang. You hear about that, but like...
Yeah,
right.
Really
Young
Ballerz.
so
You
it's
read
like
about
you go really, really hard, and they just come after
They
you like
want ya.
sharks. But so they offered us really young, and we had a lot of great schools that had offered us pretty young as well. We ended up going to Kansas our first year. It wasn't really a fit for us, so we didn't open up our recruitment. We went straight to UNLV because of the coaches and because we felt like they wanted Dylan and Dakota. They didn't just want our position. And so it's really like a family there. And I'm really, really grateful to have had the experience that I had at UNLV because the coaches have been amazing throughout my career there.
Yeah.
Is there like something specific that happened at Kansas? Was there some type of change?
Yeah, no, honestly, I think for us, it was difficult because when you're so young in high school, you just lack an awareness of what you're really getting into when you commit to play Division I basketball. And I think that for anybody going in as a freshman, you sort of come in with certain expectations, and when those expectations aren't necessarily met or they're just far from those, you kind of get really taken back by that. And I think that's kind of what happened to us when we went into Kansas, and we just didn't gel well with the head coach, and that happens very often. Very often.
I mean, I think that when you first go to college, you definitely get a wake-up call.
For sure.
Like you've ever had before, especially when it comes to basketball, especially when you're like going from being like this stud and this star and all over the place to kind of the bottom of the bunch.
Yeah.
Having to prove yourself all over again. And for me personally, I had a horrible experience with the head coach. I did not get along with her at all. And it was really, when I was sitting there, it was really for no reason. Like, she just kind of isolated me and was trying to isolate me from my sister. She wouldn't let us do any drills together. She wouldn't even let us like be seen like talking to each other, even if it was like about a play. And one of the things that bothered me the most was like, I came here to play with my sister, and now you want to isolate us. You want to separate us. You won't let us be on the same team. And we've always understood we don't have this complex where we always have to be at each other's hip. But to not even be able to shoot a free throw before practice, like with my sister rebounding for me or whatever it is, was like, it started to become uncomfortable for me. And then, I just personally, in my own experience, because we had different experiences, and in my own experience, I was just very mistreated. And I know that a lot of freshmen go through that experience. A lot of people get homesick. A lot of people want to transfer because of minutes, and that really wasn't it for me. It wasn't about the minutes. It wasn't about being homesick. It was about like the mistreatment. And so, and as a freshman, as a collegiate athlete, you don't really get to talk about that because you always feel like you kind of have to be on the hush hush because somebody's always, you know what I mean, like doing this with the ruler to your hand. So that's why I really left, was because I was like, I am miserable here. I hate basketball here. I would rather never touch a basketball again in my life than play here. So it got to that point, and that's when I knew I had to leave, and I wanted to be somewhere that was like the complete opposite of my experience there.
Yeah. So before we talk about UNLV, is there any advice you'd give to young women or young girls, you know, even guys who are in this position of being recruited that, you know, people are so close, they get that first offer, they want to jump to conclusions.
Right.
Maybe like maybe they see the name or the brand.
Yes.
What advice would you give people going through
Yeah,
that
no,
process?
I think that's such a good point, is that when you work so hard in high school and you feel like you're finally getting that recognition through scholarships and through certain schools offering you want to jump at that opportunity because you're like, I deserve this. I've worked so hard. I deserve this. But the truth is, I think with young kids and us, we were the exact same. You forget to take into account where you would fit into those programs. And so our younger brother plays, and we even talked to him before he was going to commit. And we're like, listen, figure out what you want. Figure out if you're okay with being somebody that kind of doesn't play until your senior year, or do you want to be in the mix right away and make an impact? That is important for you to figure that out and be true to yourself and be
definitely.
realistic with yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Be realistic, because for us, it was like, oh, we can do this and we can go anywhere. But you have to be realistic with yourself and then find out, do those coaches really want you or do they just want a position to fill? Because if they want a position to fill, they can get it anywhere. They can get it from anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and so you're going to be treated completely different. You're going to come into that program completely different than if they really wanted you, not your position. They want you. And I think that's the biggest advice I can give to somebody is pay attention to that.
Yes.
You know, when you go on recruiting visits, ask those questions. Ask questions that are maybe not easy to ask because you want those answers. And I'm not guaranteeing that every coach is going to give you an honest answer because trust me, they're probably not. They probably aren't. But at least you can get that feel for yourself. Yes. And you can figure stuff out and kind of navigate and use your parents, you know, anybody that has experience, if your parents have experience, really use that. And we were so fortunate to have our mother who kind of had gone through this process already to help us navigate through certain things. So I would say for anybody that has coaches, AAU coaches, really use those figures in your life to help you navigate through that.
No, yeah, I agree completely. I would say just kind of like to pinpoint is figure out what you want out of a college experience as far as basketball goes. Do you want to be the all-star? Are you okay just being a part of a culture somewhere? Like, figure out what you want and then go somewhere that genuinely wants you as a player. And don't, because I remember I felt like I kind of big-timed UNLV because I wanted to prove myself so much to everybody who was talking crazy, saying things like, oh, you guys can't really hoop, da-da-da-da-da. So when I got out of high school, I was like, oh, I can't hoop, but I made it to the Big 12. So it was like, my pride got in the way. So you have to kind of let go of that ego and really decide like what kind of player do you want to be? Where can you take your skills where you are really wanted, where you are really cared for, where you have a family around you?
I think that's really important. You see kids nowadays, they get stuck in that social media presence. Like I just read something about Lil Wayne brought like a top 20 recruit on the stage the other day. And I just read something about that, and we were doing our slam or not, and I was like, could you like imagine like it's turned into not even like, hey, you're good at, you know, basketball and things like that. It's like, all right, so I'm good now. Who can I brand to?
Yes.
Who can I, you know, where can I use me? So it's really important advice. I really appreciate that. So UNLV, let's talk UNLV. Yeah. Are you guys happy there?
We love UNLV. Honestly, that move for us, we are so blessed and we are so fortunate to have gone into that situation because transferring is not easy and you never know, you know, if the grass is greener on the other side. And that's what's scary about transferring.
It's always that what if.
Exactly. It's like, ugh. But we knew, you know, Dylan really wanted to leave and we were package deal. And I was not really messing with Kansas either at that time, I'm not going to lie. So it wasn't too difficult for me to go with her. But when we came to UNLV in the beginning, we were a little like, you know, it was hard for people to accept us as well. So it was kind of like, ooh, these twins coming in, and we had a social media presence at that time, so people were kind of like,
not sure how
we really had to go in there and prove like, listen, we're here to work hard, we're here to win games, we're here to change a culture, and we want everybody in the mix. You know, we're not trying to be these, oh, it's all about us and let's take some selfies. And no, we were really serious about it and we had to show them that. And once we did, it was so easy for us to gel and mix. And our coaches honestly are some of the greatest people I know. I will have relationships with them for the rest of my life.
And when you're getting recruited, that's what you look for. That's what you look for when you're being recruited. Yes. Now, how long did it take you guys to really gel and mesh with the girls in the team? Did it take a while?
Honestly, I would say that before all of the, I guess, curiosities from the team really came before we physically got to UNLV, because all of a sudden you just hear everybody in the media talking and you're just unsure because they didn't know our personalities. And I would say if people are just looking at us on social media, you definitely have a certain perception about how you think we're going to be, how you think we're going to act. And we're probably some of the most grounded people you're ever going to meet, like all thanks to God and my parents. And we want to work hard. We want to prove ourselves. We take basketball very serious. We love it. We're passionate about it. And a lot of the things that were being said were things like, oh, like you guys are just here because like you want to become more popular and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't get a scholarship for being popular. So that's just one. So that's just first of all. That's true. And so by the time that we actually physically got to UNLV and kind of people got to see, I guess, and interact with us more, it was a lot easier in that sense. Yeah. Rather than just having to kind of have these phone conversations where you're texting, but you're kind of like, I don't know how to take that text message.
Right. Was that a smirk smiley or like a legit smiley?
There's a period. I'm not
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So once we actually physically got there, I would say it was definitely a lot easier to kind of be like,
break
hey
that
guys.
ice and like,
yeah.
Okay, we're chill, we're normal, we're good.
We're normal people.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk NCAA. I know
Let's.
you guys have a lot of feelings and emotions towards them.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just kind of talk about what's going on for you guys and, you know, maybe what's important to other people who are in your position, because social media is growing up. Blowing up.
Right, really.
It's blowing up. You get, you know, kids as young as 8th grade, Lonzo Ball's brother scoring those 92 points or whatever, and it just, you know, it shoots up for anyone. So there's going to be opportunities during the time in college, prior to college. So what has been happening with you as far as the NCAA, and how have you guys tried to approach the situation?
Oh man, so you know, I think that the biggest thing for me and with the NCAA is that it kind of is these ancient set of rules that isn't evolving with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it's like everything is evolving except the NCAA. And so it makes it really, really difficult when you have people like Dakota and I, or like the Ball brothers and their family, when you have these people who are trying to do something bigger than basketball, and you're not allowed to because of these rules that have been set in place since the land before time.
Stone Age.
Yeah.
So now you hit this crossroad, and what's really difficult is if you do have multiple passions, you really don't get to explore or experience them because you kind of get two options laid in front of you. It's like play your collegiate sport, because it really goes for any sport, but for us, so play basketball or do other things. And it's like so for us it would be music, because we're passionate about music. So it's play basketball, do music. And that was really tough for us because we're like, wow, I love them equally. That's not fair that you're making me choose. Like I want to play basketball and I want to sing. Why can't I do both? And so then you just get to this point where you just become so frustrated with the NCAA because you're like, it doesn't make sense. You have one rule here that contradicts this rule here, and so, but now I can't go, and the only thing you're allowing me to do is sing the national anthem, but what if I want to go perform on stage somewhere? I'm not allowed to do it. Yeah. So it's just, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't even cross over to basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, honestly, that's crazy. I was thinking the same thing. Must have been a telepathy there, but
it's a twin thing.
It's a twin telepathy right there. But no, I would say that even aside, what makes it specifically the most difficult for Dylan and I is the fact that we want to go into a career where your image, your likeness, your brand is very important and something that we would have to utilize on a daily basis on our own. But they own that. So it's like, we can't even do certain things because they own that brand. They own our name.
And a lot of people don't realize that when you sign a scholarship, you kind of sign over your whole being to
this.
The NCAA, to your institution.
Yes. And I would say the other thing that upsets me is that you come into this with the idea that you're a student athlete.
That you're being taken care of.
That you're a student athlete. So as I'm thinking student in my head, I couldn't even give you the statistics of how many people actually played their professional sport after college. There's probably a low percentage.
I'm like, they put it on commercials all the time.
Yeah.
Like 99.9% of you won't actually go play pro in your sport.
So it's like, because it's like, okay, so we need to be set up to do other things outside of our sport because most of us are not going to play professionally. So we need to have those opportunities to be able to, after college, be able to succeed in another career. And unfortunately, in my opinion, we don't get set up that well to do that. Your life is dedicated to basketball or whatever sport you're playing. You are doing it, you are sleeping it, you are eating it, you are breathing it, you're missing classes to do it. You know what I mean? So really, what are we prioritizing? But at the end of the day, in my opinion, for us, we were always very academically oriented. We were raised that way. But there's a lot of people that struggled with that because of the time commitment that it takes to play your sport. And then you're not really getting to, okay, yeah, you have tutors. Okay, yeah, sure. But then there's schools that are literally like suggesting that you take other majors because, you're not going to be able to do this.
A lot of people, like for instance, I know that there's been like multiple like people who I've played with, teammates of mine who played at other colleges, who wanted to start off in one major, like they wanted to do bio because they wanted to become a doctor, or some kind of major that would put them in a position where they could go to law school, and they're not able to do it because of the time commitment that you have with basketball. I think one of the biggest controversies that I also have, other than the fact that I'm restricted to pretty much anything outside of basketball and the NCAA and anything that has to do with UNLV, I am like in a box like this. I can't, if I try to step out of the box, it's like punished. So there's some violation, I have to miss a game, like whatever it is. The other thing that is really, really difficult is the fact that they don't allow student athletes to make money.
Which, mind you, when we did an interview about this before, people were like, "Oh, you're so like money." No, that's really not the case. The truth is, it's like, this is the world we're living in, point blank period. So it's like, you have to have a way to make money, to have a way to get income, because I'm not going to be playing back. I do this for 4, maybe 5 years. I'm not going to have a stipend coming in every month. So there is no time for you to even get experience to put on your resume to say, hey, I've done this job and this job and this job, and I'm set up to now move forward after college. No, you have zero time to do that. Zero time. For us, we want it to be music. So we want to do things that set us up for music. Can't do that. But there's other violations that go along with it. But even a student who would want to just have a simple job or a simple, whatever it is, I don't mean that in a negative way, but let's say it's not something like doing music. Yeah. They aren't set. You're coming out of college and you're like, what? Like, where's your resume? What have you done? Well, I played basketball. And obviously there's going to be some cool things to that.
There's great benefits that come with that as well. You get your recommendations from your coaches if you have a good relationship.
But you're lacking that resume still.
Exactly.
You don't have that experience.
Not even just the experience. You're lacking that experience. And I think that on top of that, what a lot of people don't realize is that, yes, this is supposed to be, something that's like a fun commitment that you do, and like, you're so proud that you made it to the next level in whatever, sport that you're doing. But it's a job. It's not just playing basketball. It's a job. You wake up in the morning, you have to go to workouts, then you got to go to class. Things are mandatory. You don't get to just say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to go practice. I'm not going to go shoot 100 shots, 500 shots today. You don't get to do that. It's all mandatory. So this is a job. But it's a job that you don't necessarily get paid for. So then that's where it becomes like this struggle as a student. I've had plenty of people at UNLV alone who have had to, they didn't accept their scholarship because they're like, I can't come back. I cannot afford to stay here. And even during the summer times, you don't get paid. So, you'll maybe get a couple $100s over the summer, but if you come in from out of town, where are you supposed to live? Like, I'm required to be here and I can't even pay for a place to live. So thankfully for Dakota and I, we've had such an amazing support from our family, and we came from a family that was able to help us and help to provide that for us to live somewhere, but that shouldn't even have to be the case.
Right.
Oh,
so even I know a lot of kids who come from tougher backgrounds who don't have that kind of financial support to help them, they had to quit like teams because they just can't do it.
Right.
And so I think that like moving forward for Dakota and I, we almost our hand was forced, I'll say, in leaving. And we've always, like I said, wanted to do music, but we wanted to be able to do both, even in knowing that we still have another year of eligibility left. However, our hand is forced because we're not allowed to take on the opportunities that are coming for us musically. And I can't even tell you why, because what does it have to do with basketball or the NCAA or UNLV? I don't know. I'm not even allowed to have an album with my name on it because it belongs to the NCAA. And if I sell that, I am now I'm in a violation now. Yeah. So it's like, dang, I can't even make an album and sell it because it's in violation of the NCAA.
So ultimately, we could be losing our season anyway, just from certain things like that. But I will say, on a positive side, you do learn a lot. You grow a lot as a person. You're faced with certain adversities that really, really force you to grow up. And you can take a lot of positive lessons from that. And I would say for us, that's something that we were able to do. And we're so appreciative of that, because I definitely don't think that we would be where we are, who we are today, if we didn't have to go through some of those challenges and even have some of these people in our life. We've been able to build great relationships from playing collegiate basketball.
Right, and UNLV, they were always great.
Always great. They always tried to help us out.
They always tried to help us. They were always on our side. E.T., shout out to you because
always tried to help us out.
Always tried to help us
always
out.
had to write up some cease and desist letters to somebody.
Always had to be there for me to write my statement to the NCAA for why I shouldn't have to lose my eligibility.
Right.
And it's just crazy because we would do like things for charity and be in violation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, wow, like I'm over here doing a charity event and I have to sit out 2 games now because I didn't even realize that I was violating rules.
Right.
Because I'm doing a charity event.
And I think we got a little bitter because we felt like it was unjust. And along with it, we were sort of comparing it to other situations where we're like, okay, we're willing to sweep drug tests and failed drug tests under the rug, but then we do something where our face is on it and we could potentially make money from it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get punished.
It's like jersey sales. Everyone knows who's number 5 on the team.
Exactly.
But yet they can't make money because there's no last name on it. No,
exactly.
I totally
I mean, and kids really do. They get like screwed.
I mean,
honestly, out of a lot
if
of stuff.
I'm real, when we were listening to LeVar Ball's whole deal, and it's difficult to take it in because he's a lot to
it's a lot. It's a weekly discussion. You can't just have it all in one,
exactly.
one Ballerz World Live episode.
Exactly.
You gotta just take it all in weekly and
yes, and so he's a lot, but
I
if you kind of get past, if you get past the presentation, when you actually kind of hear him out for what he is trying to say is, why can't we brand? They're using my son. Why can't I now use this platform for us? This is my family. You're going to be done with him in a year. If you're really listening to the context and the content of what he's saying,
he's trying to build something beyond.
He's right. He is right. You know what I mean? It's hard to take it in, but he's right. And he said something about, we're going to be on this train and other people are going to follow, and he is right. He's right.
Oh, absolutely.
Because a lot of times people, I think they're kind of scared to challenge what's already set in place. They're afraid to challenge the norm and what people have gone by.
Definitely a big challenge.
And it is. It's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge.
It's really unfair. And that's just kind of the truth of the matter. At the end of the day, it's just unfair. And I understand that like these rules were all set in place to try to keep this fairness, to try to make sure
amateurism
that people like protect your amateurism. And at the end of the day, I remember I had a conversation with like my compliance at UNLV, and I said, here's the thing, me going and performing on stage for a concert, how does that affect my basketball amateurism? How does me getting paid to go model for a clothing line affect my basketball amateurism? And one of the arguments that I remember, actually it was back in Kansas, but one of the arguments they tried to make to me was like, Kansas made you. Like the reason that you're like popular and all this stuff is because of Kansas.
So basically
I was like,
so basically they're saying all these opportunities that you're now getting outside of basketball is because of the university, is because of the program. Yeah, so it's like you're not getting this because you're Dylan and Dakota. You're getting this because you are a Kansas basketball player.
Or a UNLV basketball player. That's why you're getting this opportunity. Yes. And I was like, that really doesn't make sense because if, no offense, not to sound cocky, I brought people to Kansas. I brought people to UNLV. So how are you going to come to me and tell me, oh, hey, you're using the university in inappropriate ways to try to brand yourself like away from the university? And that just doesn't make sense to me. So even like Dakota was saying with LeVar, I can understand him trying to almost find a loophole in branding his kids because it's not fair that all these other people like the NCAA get to come in and take your kid and get to brand them, but you don't get to like help them in any way possible because the second that they leave the university, it's done. Yeah. You're just done. You're like, oh yeah, I'm still going to sell your jerseys. I'm still going to make money from you. Go do whatever you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I don't really care after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like Lonzo Ball. You know he brought people to UCLA.
Yes.
Those ticket sales, because I wanted to go to a couple of games. I'm like, no way. Like, those ticket prices were
crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And people will like, it's just like I said, it's just unfair.
Yeah.
And the kid, like as a student athlete, you'll never really get acknowledged for that. And so at the end of the day, like, yeah, you're just another UCLA player who came through and afterwards, do your thing.
When you're done,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. For anybody, even people who don't, it's worse for kids who don't choose to go professionally or who aren't these top 10 all-stars
because it's
in
like,
America,
okay, now what?
Because now you're really like, go figure it out, and you're just kind of like, I don't even know where to
got a
start.
blank
I've been
resume.
doing this.
Exactly.
I've been doing this, playing basketball, being a part of this system
Since I was
for my
in
whole life.
6th grade.
And now all of a sudden, like, I don't really have anything
And you're just
to show for after that.
And you're just like, okay, well, figure it out, you know. Hopefully this recommendation works and you get a job. You know what I mean? It's like, really?
So
that's what this is?
Be a barista at a coffee shop, I guess.
Yeah. Honestly, like we have friends that play in not even just UNLV, all over Arizona, Pac-12, Big 12,
Man, the stories, we could be here for
SEC,
days.
ACC. I mean, it's crazy the similarities in every single player's story. There is some parallel somewhere, and it all comes and ties back in to the NCAA most times. And it's like, wow, that's really sick. And I know a lot of our own friends and teammates who have then finished college and they're like, I'm back home. I'm living with my parents again. I don't even know how I'm going to get this ball rolling, no pun intended. But it's just like, okay, now what? What am I supposed to do? I've known basketball my whole life, and now I don't have, other than maybe some social skills and time management, which you might not even get the opportunity to show you have those because you don't have a resume. Mm-hmm. You don't have anything to show that you're capable of doing certain jobs at a higher level that you're expected to do when you get your degree.
And definitely for Dakota and I, because we're going into music and we're really trying to take it to like the next level, I would say that nobody's ever really done that before. So they never really knew how to handle us, I guess. So in a way, we're almost kind of trailblazing a little bit because we're kind of just creating a path for ourselves. And when it came down to it, it was almost like, gosh, like I don't even really know how to handle that because we've never had to deal with this. And a lot of the things that we became frustrated with, we became bitter with towards the NCAA was because we felt like things we were trying to do with ourselves to build ourselves to help us in our future with music, other people were allowed to do in the sense like if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to do an internship. They're allowed to go do that internship and be like, hey,
not that you'll have time.
Not that you have time, but this is just
you're
an
allowed.
Example. That would be completely okay. They would be like, oh yeah, look at me over here at my internship at, Sunflower Hospital, and it would be completely okay. But if Dakota and I are like, hey, you guys, we're going to perform at, such and such venue tonight.
Pete's Coffee.
Right.
It
could be like exactly.
Oh my gosh, literally.
Exactly.
And it would be totally like, oh, no, you just endorse
when I tell you,
like,
they have our numbers on speed dial. They are just waiting to click send.
All right, what are they going to do next?
Yes, I'm telling you, it was crazy. We did this modeling thing, and the next day, we got emails like, shoo, violation this, infraction this. And we were like, whoa. And mind you, when we went in there to talk to them, hey, we've done modeling before. Before we came to college, we were modeling. We were under an agency before we came to college to play, okay? So they're like, yes, in this bylaw, you're allowed to do. Okay, cool, so we can do this modeling gig. We do the modeling gig, bah! No, actually, matter of fact, there was also this bylaw that says this and this and this and this and this and this and this.
And the craziest part was that during like the modeling stuff, when the photos came out, they didn't even use our name.
Yeah, we were just models. It wasn't like Dylan Dakota from UNLV or Dylan Dakota. It didn't even say Dylan Dakota.
Nothing. I mean, they tagged us in the photo, but that's it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, everybody go buy this because Dylan and Dakota,
Gonzalez
the
twins,
UNLV basketball stars are wearing it. Like, it was nothing like that. And so then when they came back at us and they were like, oh yeah, just kidding. We know you guys talked to us about doing modeling stuff, but this is an implied endorsement. So I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, just go model for freaking No Brand? Like, I don't even know how that works. I would still get in trouble. Like, oh, you modeled for No Brand. So it's like, I
did you get paid for No Brand?
I don't understand. Where do we find a happy medium? Because like, we really truly, we had a kind of conversation with our coaches today about not returning because it was like, wow, like, coach, I don't know if I can't do both. Like, we're trying to find a balance here. We're trying to make it work, and I want to come back. I really, really do, but I just don't know how. I don't know how to make it work. Exactly. And that's what sucks the most. It's almost like I'm forced out of playing basketball for things that are beyond my control and are honestly, in my opinion, like, for
bullshit.
No reason.
Period. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's
bullshit. It's really what it is. It's like, wow. And our coaches, I mean, it was emotional. We're like bawling. I'm literally like, this sucks. Like, because I want to play. We have that fire. We're super competitive. I know I'm going to look back and watch my teammates and be like, damn, I wish I was still out there. You know what I mean? That's just who we are. And so it was like, as much as we know music is what we want to do after college, we still wanted to be able to finish that last year and have that last experience. Because of the season we had last year, we knew we could take it to another level
and
this year.
And we're graduating in like literally next week.
Literally next.
But we still have that extra year of eligibility. And so we were like, you know what? I don't even care if I'm working towards my master's or whatever it is. Like, we just want to be able to play and be a part of that experience.
But once those violations started piling up, I was like,
ooh. We literally cannot.
Because ultimately, we could not even have a season. Like, honestly, they could suspend us like, we have so many violations.
For who knows
why.
You went to this charity and you said you were at the charity on Instagram, and so you endorsed it, and even though it's a nonprofit, it's still a commercial product.
I'm sorry you're trying to save some kids, but
matter of fact, forget the kids.
The charity wasn't through UNLV, so it's, it doesn't count.
Yeah, so once that started piling up, we really were just like, you know what, we talked to our mom about it, and our parents, like, it was tough for them too, because it was like, this is what we've been doing our whole lives. This is not just something we picked up and we're like, we're just naturally so good. It was like, we were blessed to be athletic, but we worked really hard our whole lives, and our parents were there through all of that. They saw how hard we worked. So for them even to see that we now have to give up our last season because of a situation like this, which shouldn't even be in the conversation, it's really sad. If we were over it and we were kind of like, screw basketball, it's maybe a different story. It's maybe a different conversation. But the fact is, we want to play. We want to play basketball. But we know that's not our career path after. So now we're trying to be smarter than this and think ahead. And thinking ahead, we're like, we got to go to music. We got to go to music.
Can't look right here. You got to look back here and see, like, you know what, this time next year is not even guaranteed, so I really have to start putting 2 feet into something that I'm trying to build for the rest of my life.
Because right now we're getting opportunities for music that who's to say we're going to get those same opportunities next year. And we can't jump on those if we come back and play basketball. We just can't. There's no way. And people don't even want to touch us with a 10-foot pole. People are like, oh, you're a college athlete? Ooh, never mind. Forget it. I'm not fighting that beast.
When you're done, maybe.
Yeah. So it's like, we're not going to get those same opportunities. So we're like, now is the time. We've got to push the music. We have to. This is what we're passionate about. Basketball. I'm sick to think that I'm not going to play college basketball. But it's like, we always want it in our life. We're so appreciative of places like Ballerz World where it still can be a part of our life. So thank goodness for that. But truth be told, it's sad, but it's also exciting for us to know that, okay, we kind of have that weight off of our shoulders now, and we're able to kind of pursue this music and just go dive in completely without any worries about waking up to 10 million emails.
Did I violate something? I'm still gonna, like,
I'm
honestly,
texting my mom, how do I get out of this?
I'm gonna have, like, literally, I'm still gonna have some kind of post-traumatic anxiety.
I swear.
I'm gonna post something and
be like,
yeah, I can do this now.
I'm good.
Now, before we wrap up, how important is it for student athletes in your position to have a voice and raise their voice to the NCAA?
You know what? It's so sensitive because people are so scared of the repercussions that are going to come from trying to stand up for themselves in the NCAA. Because as a kid, you just want to play. You just want to play so bad that you don't even care that you're getting taken advantage of because you want to play, and that's it. And that is the hardest part. And I think that I would say and I tell this to Dakota all the time, is you might not know what's going to happen, but you can't be afraid of the dark. And so at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And so if that means that you feel that you are being mistreated, if you feel that things are unfair, you have to say something. Because otherwise, it's just going to be a continuous cycle, pattern of behavior that never is ever going to change. And when you don't have people, because I know there was actually somebody at another school during the NCAA tournament, I was reading about it, who it has a lawsuit against the NCAA right now. There's a couple, but it's like, if you don't have people who are going to go and, like, really try to make a stand, to make a change, there's never going to be a change.
Yeah.
So you can't be afraid to speak out on things. And I think the biggest thing is you're like, wow, like, look what I'm up against. That's the scariest part when you think about it like that, I think.
Right.
But I feel like you just have to kind of get that courage, get those great people around you who support you, and you just have to say it if you feel like something's not right.
I think that there was a couple things that I took away from people that basketball has given me great relationships with. And I would say one of the things that I took away from today was that we had our talk with our compliance officer, and he basically told me that sometimes the right thing and the hard thing are the same thing. And so it's like you have to find it in yourself to be able, it might be hard, but you, like, at the end of the day, everybody has that sense of what's right. And if you know that something is wrong, you have to speak up about it. And it's not guaranteed that some miraculous change is going to happen right away. But if you don't say anything, it's guaranteed that nothing is going to happen and it's going to stay the exact same.
And so at least you can know that you took a step in another direction to try to make that change, rather than let it be this continuous horrible
I think
cycle.
that kids even and even us, and because we've been so used to having to be so political, we were raised to be very say the right thing and make sure that you don't talk bad about.
I love it.
It was a great experience. It wasn't for us. Literally, like you are trained. You're trained to become very political because you have that fear that let me make sure I don't say anything wrong so that the sharks can freaking attack me. You know what I mean? And now I think it's a times are changing, and kids' voices, social media, as much as it's a hindrance in some ways, it's a platform as well. And I think that kids need to learn how to use that and in a positive way to where it's. Like Dylan's saying, what's best for you? What's best, you know what I mean? Don't allow yourself to get eaten up by the system. You know what I mean? Because that can be a really scary, dark place to go in.
A lot of people lose themselves. I know that even some of my teammates to this day who are graduating now, I feel so bad that so many people have to graduate college and leave and say, thank God, I'm done. Thank you. Like, you don't, and it's like, oh, you're always going to appreciate the experience, but you're just so glad to get away. And that's like so unfortunate. It shouldn't have to be like that.
Yeah. Not everybody feels that way,
but. Not everybody feels like that, but I know like a lot of people do, because you're just like, wow, that's just like so much. It's not what I expected. Like, this system almost kind of changed me in a way I wasn't ready for.
Yeah. But I would say, I would honestly say that the power of the voice, especially when everybody starts, it's a chain reaction. Mm-hmm. And oh, now you're doing it. Oh, now you're doing it. Oh, now you're doing it. And it becomes a very powerful
And it's like the
thing.
people who are kind of in, like, I guess the closet, so to speak, who are like scared to say anything about it. And that's what happens with any major change. Somebody kind of, or a couple people
has to ignite it.
Has to start that flame. And you're like, you know what? I've been feeling that way too. And I was just too scared. But you know what? Because of, this
now
change
I feel
that
more
see in
comfortable.
Me, I'm going to jump on.
And we have no issue being in the front spot. We don't have an issue with that. We will gladly, let's go.
Ready.
Well, guys.
Ready.
Thank you so much for being at Ballerz World, sitting down with me for overtime. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to us
Gonzalez
talk.
Twins, Dylan and Dakota. Check out their music. We wish you guys all the best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much.
Come back and visit us.
Of course.
You always got a home here at Ballerz World.
I got to get my shooting game right on that little machine out there.
We'll check it out. It's still going. It's still going.
Thank you.